everyone. Welcome to today's session, iStore Meets Low Vision Awareness Month. I hope that you enjoyed that little intro video, just telling you a little bit more about these iStore Meet sessions that we're having on a regular basis. Free sessions for you to learn more about how to use your devices to the fullest of their ability. And something that iStore is so passionate about, because Apple is so passionate about, is accessibility. And as a result, we really ensure that we celebrate all of the disability awareness months. And February is Low Vision Awareness Month. And I'm so honored to be sharing with you today for iStore Meets Low Vision Awareness Month. I have the amazing Jennifer Webster joining me today, and I'll be introducing her shortly. But before we get into that, I'm going to just give you a bit of the admin before we get started. So today's session is an iStore Meet session, and we would really love it if you would firstly engage with us. Chat to us. If you have any questions, pop it in the chat section, pop it in the Q&A section. Let us know, engage with us, chat with us. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that you get the most out of your devices. And secondly, if you are interested in becoming a host, if you want to host your own iStore Meets, if you love your Apple technology and want to present at one of these sessions, well, feel free to email us at istore.meets@istore.co.za. And the last one is share on social media. Take a screenshot of today, take a selfie of you learning something new today, and share it on social media using the hashtag iStore Meets, and you stand a chance to win an iStore voucher. Some of these vouchers are valued at 1,500 Rand, so it's really worth sharing about it on social media. So go ahead and share about it today. And lastly, today's session is in partnership with Think Ahead. We are an Apple solution expert in the field of education, and I'm the inclusion and accessibility specialist at Think Ahead. Just to give you a little bit more context as to who Think Ahead is, I'm going to show you the opening video now. And as you watch it, sit back, enjoy, and learn a little bit about who Think Ahead is. The world is changing fast. We are faced with new challenges and need to adapt as school leaders, educators, parents, and students. It can be difficult for us to keep up with change. It can feel fast, confusing, unexpected, overwhelming. Through the shift, Think Ahead is here to offer you the best breed teaching and learning solutions with Apple technology. Plus the safe and secure deployment of devices, as well as financing options to make world-class solutions affordable. Solutions for your school, whether your classroom is online, hybrid, or face-to-face. Solutions accessible for all learners. And remember, we also accept trade-ins on previously loved iPads, increasing your return on investment for future purchases. As you adjust to this new world, you can be assured that with Think Ahead, you'll be equipped to adapt, lead, and succeed. Think Ahead, Apple Solution Experts. Get in touch. Inquiries at thinkahead.co.za or www.thinkahead.co.za. Awesome. So that was just a little bit about who Think Ahead is. So that you know who I am, now it's on to the fun part of the session. The admin's out of the way. So I am the Inclusion and Accessibility Specialist at Think Ahead and iSchool Africa. We're a part of a bigger company called Call Group. And I'm really, really passionate about creating opportunities to create disability inclusive and accessible environments using technology as a tool. And something that I've just seen in the years that I've been working from a personal capacity and from a career-wise, I'm really starting to see how using technology, whether it's in the education sector or the economic sector or privately, really just allows individuals with disabilities to be able to access the world on an equitable level. And that's the driving force behind what I do. And you'll hear Jennifer's here with me today, and I'm going to hand over to Jennifer just for her to introduce herself. I'm so excited she's with us today because she brings such a a fresh vision in what we do, and such a fresh vision in today's session. So over to you, Jen. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jennifer when I'm naughty, and usually Jenny. So I've had vision loss for 40 years. I was diagnosed with Stargardt's when I was about 9. But looking back on my life, I think it started earlier than that. Spent years running away from the B word, blind. And it was only later in life when I got help with realizing that there's a whole help center out there for assistive technology and counseling, when I sort of embraced the fact that they've got a form of blindness. So, and I think that's the whole thing with low vision today. It's very misunderstood or not well assimilated by society at the moment. Not everyone knows about it. So yeah, that's really my story. I'm married. I've got 2 grown kids. I love serving people, and I feel like I'm alive with low vision for a reason. So my basic ethos is, how can my visual impairment position me in a place to help people who are sighted? So out of that, I'm launching an awareness consultancy with solutions. We're helping to create awareness for sighted designers and developers, particularly of apps, to close the digital design gap. So I'm busy with a startup around that.
That's awesome. That's
me.
Really exciting. And I think, something that you said, you got diagnosed at the age of 9, but you think that it started off earlier. And I think that that's across all disabilities. I, funnily enough, was also diagnosed not with vision loss, but with neurodiverse disabilities, also at the age of 9. On my 9th birthday, funnily enough. But I think a lot of disabilities, I count myself very fortunate to have been diagnosed at the age of 9. I'm chatting to people that are getting diagnosed at the age of 20, 30 years old with the same disability as me. And I think disabilities are so unknown or unheard, or people are just not including them in society, in conversations. And as a result, people are being diagnosed later on in life. And that's a whole nother thing on its side. And I think you also touched on vision loss and low vision versus being blind. And it is a spectrum, which you would have definitely encountered in your life, being bunched in, low vision versus blind. There's huge differences.
Yes.
And huge need.
Yes. And I think around that is and I don't think we must separate blind and low vision. I think because there's so much to be learned from blind and going backwards towards low vision, instead of starting at one place and going towards blindness. And I think when the doctor says to you, you're going to be going blind, it's such a scary thing. And I think that's why with disability, a lot of the time when people see a white cane or they see a wheelchair, they see something, it actually is painful for them because they don't know, like, oh my goodness, what happens if that happens to me? And so I think part of the thing is people with disabilities is to help people feel comfortable. So I think that's really great.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to just share your knowledge and your expertise with us today. It really is invaluable. And I'm so grateful that you're joining us today. Thank you. Okay, so for those of you that are joining us today, today's session, we're going to be covering the following. We've got the following session goals. So firstly, we're going to be looking at what is low vision and understanding what it is for somebody with low vision. How do they see and access the technology that we're talking about? Secondly, we're going to discuss understanding Apple accessibility. Why am I talking about iPad accessibility, iPhone accessibility? Why are we such huge advocates for Apple accessibility? Thirdly, we're going to be unpacking some of the accessibility features that can be used in the field of low vision. Now, unfortunately, we have a time limit of 1 hour today, so I'm not going to be able to go through all of the accessibility features. However, if you need any more information, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Jen and just ask us questions, because we are here to support you to make sure you get the most out of your devices. So don't feel shy. And even in today's session, pop your questions in the chat section. We are here. And then lastly, we're going to close off by opening the floor to anybody who does have any questions around low vision, accessibility, Apple accessibility, and we'll be answering your questions at the end. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with the first section, which is understanding low vision. And because I don't have low vision, I don't feel like I have the right to speak into understanding low vision, because my experience is a third-party experience. I will never be able to understand fully what somebody with low vision goes through on a daily basis. So Jen, I'm going to hand on over to you. Why don't you unpack understanding low vision and all of that for us?
All right. Well, I think understanding low vision is a difficult term, because low vision is so broad, and I only have one form of it. So, and having, so I think firstly to understand, in simple layman's terms, low vision is really bad or confusing eyesight that cannot be corrected by the optician or ophthalmologist, where you can't have spectacles to correct it. I'm sure the specialists have a broader term, and I hope I don't get into trouble for that. But there's definitely within low vision, if there's anything wrong with your eyes, go and see your specialist, go get the checkups, go get what you need, because, as we discuss low vision, it's important to know everybody faces vision changes in their lives. It doesn't matter who you are. I always say, and it doesn't matter how many carrots you eat, that's from a friend of mine, you will face visual impairment at some stage, even if it's from wearing a mask and your glasses fogging up, or sunshine, or the glare off a bright wall. And so, just talking low vision, one of the difficult things is it's so confusing to describe what you can and can't see. Some people can see color, others see movement. People with central vision loss tend to move a lot more and have, if you can see color, it's great to use that for navigating. And even as we talk about digital devices, your iconizing, we'll talk a little bit about that later, how to move the colors into places where you can identify where they are. And then you get something like tunnel vision, which obviously doesn't always need magnification. Sometimes they need magnification. So I think it's so important that whoever has low vision works with an occupational therapist or a low vision specialist. So your assistive technology is fantastic. And I don't know what I'd do without my iPad and my iPhone. I am an Apple lover, but we'll get to that just now. But understanding, that the technology is so fabulous now. Never in a time of history have we had this time where devices made for ordinary people are actually available to help people with low vision. And I think that's the exciting thing of living at this time in history with an impairment.
Absolutely. I think with technology, it's really made, there's a quote, and I actually have it in this presentation at the end, but technology makes life possible for people with disabilities. And I just love that. It's really allowing disability inclusion to become a real possibility. So you have a short video here. I'm going to play it now for everybody to see. And after the video, maybe you can talk us through a little bit of it. Okay. Over to the video.
I made this video under a big screen magnifier, and this is how I see my cell phone screen or my iPad screen. I've made the background still, and I've made it very dark so that the apps pop, the colors are visible to me. I've got magnifier in the bottom right corner for ease of access. And then you can realize, okay, orange is possibly Pages, green is WhatsApp, the blue at the bottom is probably mail, and the top right is yellow, so likely to be notes. Even with someone who's colorblind, they will get to orientate and navigate according to the icon. So to move all the colors apart from each other for ease of navigation and orientation.
Awesome. I love that video. So Jen, do you want to talk us through?
All right. Okay. So I can't really see where my face is. So I think you're probably visually impaired at the moment.
Yes.
Is that right, Chelsea?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So it's really confusing vision moving, and sometimes the eyes, your blind spots move. So it's important in this way just to know that when you're setting up a device for someone with visual impairment, it's so important to include the person. You can't just say these settings are for this, for central vision loss, and these ones are for tunnel vision. It's almost like you're going to the doctor. They don't say there's only two pairs of glasses, far-sighted or short-sighted. For the same thing, low vision requires very specific settings. And because of this, it's very important to set up the iPad with someone, but better still is give them the confidence to set it up for themselves. So, if it's an adult, you would say, you turn on voiceover for them and say, okay, you're going to swipe left or right and just follow the commands. Put the speech on very low and let them discover. I think our seniors, sometimes they feel like, oh, someone must show me because I don't know what to do, and they're not very confident. But to sit with them and say, okay, so what can you see? And And what happens if you swipe right? And then like, oh, I swiped right. Oh, it says that, and let people discover for themselves as they're learning to set up their own iPad, knowing which colors on which page. So you separate the colors. You don't want all your blue icons all in a line, because then people, they don't know, are they looking at mail? Are they looking at Keynote? All the blue things that come to mind. So a lot of navigation is about visual perception and association within space.
Okay,
on the setup. Yeah. And if it's a child, just give them the iPad, just make sure it's unlocked, and then just an 8-year-old, just say, don't touch, I'm going out for 20 minutes. And you come back and they will already know a few things.
I love that. And very, very, very true. That's awesome.
Let's go for mainly boys. and if you've got a curious girl, give her an iPad. Yes.
Our kids, as I think my daughter's constantly teaching me things about my iPad, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I should know this, but it's scary how kids just find these devices so intuitive. Awesome, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
That was very insightful. Okay, so moving on to, we're going to unpack now understanding Apple accessibility. And I think for me personally, the question that I get asked with a lot is, why do I promote Apple? Why do I promote iPad specifically as an assistive device? And in fact, I'm presenting at a conference next month, and my session title is the iPad, the all-in-one assistive device, just because I'm so passionate about how the iPad has the potential to do everything that all assistive devices need to do in one device. And it's really just been driving my passion for accessibility, because of all the features that come in with this iPad. And something that always brings to mind is, there's a quote on the screen, and I'm going to read it to you. And it's from Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple. And it's a quote that he actually says quite regularly. And for me, I believe that whatever the top is saying, whatever the CEOs, the directors are saying, that is what a company will do, because those are the driving forces behind companies. And Tim Cook, he says, the quote says, "We've always viewed accessibility as a human right. And just like human rights are for everyone, we want our products to be accessible to everyone." And in fact, accessibility is one of Apple's core values. They've got 6 values, and accessibility, diversity and inclusion is one of their values. And it always has been from the beginning, the inception of Apple. And that's why the iPhone was the very first phone that ever came out with accessibility features. It came out with Siri. And they really do. They drive accessibility. They drive disability inclusion. And you'll see that in their products. All of their accessibility features are free and built into the devices. So I want to show you this video quickly on Apple's accessibility features, just so you can have a broad understanding of the accessibility features. This video does have audio descriptions on it for all of our sighted individuals that have never experienced audio descriptions. This will be a good way for you to see how blind and low vision individuals interact with videos as well. But enjoy this video and just get this overview of Apple's accessibility features.
In a kitchen, we move to an open bedroom door. In the bedroom, Sadie Paulson is reflected in a mirror. A caregiver brushes her hair, then helps her into a blouse.
People think that having a disability is a barrier.
Sadie sits at a desk working with an iMac. She moves her head to operate switches on her headrest.
But that's not the way I see it.
Now, a young man uses sign language on a FaceTime call.
You can catch up with friends.
A young woman signs back. Now a family picnics.
Ready?
You can capture a moment with your family.
One face, small face, focus lock.
A blind man takes a photo with an iPhone.
And you can start the day bright and early.
A woman lies in bed using an iPhone app to open motorized curtains and turn on her lights. She lowers herself into a wheelchair.
You can take a trip to somewhere new.
A man hikes with friends. Now a close-up of his hearing aid. He stops to select the outdoor setting on his iPhone.
3 miles to the summit.
A boy reads a book on an iPad in class.
You can concentrate on every word of a story.
A bird began to sing. Jack opened his eyes.
An athlete selects outdoor wheelchair workout on her Apple Watch.
You can take the long way home.
A beach at sunset. The athlete pushes her wheelchair aggressively down a paved path, quickly gaining speed. Then the footage rewinds, revealing that it's being edited in Final Cut Pro.
Or edit a film like this one.
We zoom out to reveal Sadie editing the film. She uses her head to use switch control, navigating an on-screen keyboard.
When technology is designed for everyone,
She drags a clip and plays the film.
it lets anyone do what they love, including me.
Sadie laughs. Then a gray Apple logo appears on a white background. The logo disappears.
I love that video because I just think it gives such a good understanding of accessibility features. And generally when I show people this video, first of all, they're super emotional. And second of all, they go, well, where do I find these features? And I'm like, well, it's free and it's built into every single one of your Apple devices. It's as simple as turning it on. And I love that. Every single one of these accessibility features, if you have an iPhone or an iPad or a MacBook or an Apple Watch or an Apple TV or AirPods, whatever Apple device you've got, they have these accessibility features built in for free in your devices. And we're going to show you some of them today, specific ones for low vision. And I'm really excited to show you them because once you start getting into the accessibility features and you start delving into it, it's also what I like about it is you can mix and match. So the one feature we're going to be showing you today is relevant for low vision, it's relevant for blind, it's relevant for dyslexia, it's relevant for autism, it's relevant for nonverbal. So it's really just amazing to see how these accessibility features, they fit in multiple molds, and it depends on what your need is. Your device can support you however you need it. And this slide is just showing you all the different devices laid on a table. It's got the iPad, the iPhone, the Apple Watch, the HomePod, and it says technology is most powerful when it empowers everyone. And just to show you some of the accessibility features. So where are these accessibility features? Like I said, they're on your device. All you need to do is open up settings. And if your device is updated, you'll just click on settings and then you'll scroll down in the menu until you see the word accessibility. It's got a blue icon with a man standing in a circle, and that is the accessibility menu. When you click on it, it will open up the menu items, and it's broken into 4 sections. We've got vision, physical and motor, hearing, and general. So I'm going to show you on the screen, we've got the vision, accessibility, physical and motor. And if I scroll down, you'll see it's got the hearing and the general accessibility features available for you. And we're going to touch on some of the accessibility features in the vision section for today. But feel free to go and explore your device, turn them on and sit and play. Be careful with some of the ones that you want to turn on, because if you, for voiceover, for example, if you turn on voiceover for the first time and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be difficult, and you are going to send me an email saying, hi, Chelsea, I turned on voiceover. How do I turn it off? So just be careful with what you're turning on. And you won't be the first person that sent me that email, so don't worry about that. I actually had a client emailing me going, my iPad is on, it's talking to me, but the screen is black. And with VoiceOver, it's got this feature called Screen Curtain. And it's an amazing feature, but they'd managed to turn it on and I had no idea what they'd done. And it was a very quick fix. But don't worry, if you turn those things on, just pop me an email and I'll help you on how to get out of it. So let's unpack some of these accessibility features for low vision. Jen, I hear you laughing. Have you had clients do that to you as well?
Yeah, the first thing I teach someone to do is how to turn it off. So I say, okay, before I start, this is how we turn off VoiceOver. And obviously Siri is the easiest way to say turn on. And I even make them practice the words, turn off VoiceOver. So yeah, that's one of the things. The other thing you can do is you can make your iPad lose all its color. And I even phoned all around the world to try and find out how to get the color off. And there's a feature in Zoom where you choose filters. And if you put that filter on as a visually impaired person, sometimes you touch things you shouldn't and you get yourself into trouble. But also that eventually, so if ever you have something like that, you lose the color on your iPad, probably turn off Zoom and it'll come right.
Good advice. But I love accessibility features, but you have to know more or less what you're doing. And that's why we run these training sessions. So you can know what to do and how to do and how to trouble fix all of them. So the first one we're actually going to be talking about is Zoom, exactly what you're talking about. So Zoom is ultimately, in a nutshell, it's taking your screen and zooming it in even further. There are two ways that you can zoom in. You can either do a zoomed window, which will show you what that's going to look like, or you can do a full screen zoom, which is going to zoom in your full screen. There is a third way, which is a pin zoom, but for today, we're just going to show you the zoom window and the full screen zoom. So I'm going to show you a quick video. On my screen is a screen recording of how to turn it on. So I've opened up the settings menu. I scroll down to accessibility, the blue icon with the white man in a circle. And I'm going to click on Zoom. It's the second menu item under vision accessibility. And you can see I've already turned it on. Once it's turned on, it's going to open up a couple more menu items down on the bottom, and you can go and sit and fiddle and adjust the settings if you want to. After you've turned it on, the settings will make a little bit more sense. When you first look at it, it doesn't really make sense, but once you've turned on Zoom, you can go back here and adjust the settings as you need it, or sit and play with them until you get the Zoom setting that you like. Now, I'm going to show you Zoom in action. It's very simple to turn it on. Like I said, you just click on settings, look for accessibility, Zoom, and then you're going to toggle that button on. I'm going to show you the hand gestures because this is quite important when using Zoom. And on the screen, I'm going to show you here. So I just take 3 fingers on my iPad screen and I triple tap. And as you can see, then what happens is it opens up a menu item. And I can now move along. This is the full screen zoom. I can move around in full screen zoom using 3 fingers, touching the screen, and then to zoom out, same thing, triple tap on my screen with 3 fingers. The reason I show this is because these hand gestures are tricky. And when people talk about hand gestures, they don't realize we're talking about how to swipe or how to tap, and different taps on your iPad give different functions. So zoom is 3 fingers. You can also do a 3-finger double tap to automatically zoom in. So to open up that menu item that I showed there, we do a 3-finger triple tap. So it's a 3-finger double tap to automatically zoom in, or 3-finger triple tap to open up that menu item, which you would have seen on that screen. Please, if you have any questions or if we're going too fast, just pop it in the chat section. So now I'm going to show you what Zoom looks like in action. So here I triple tapped on my screen and it's zoomed in, and you can see automatically my screen, the text is bigger, and then I zoom out so that I can see the overall, and then I zoom in on a specific word. Once I do that, I triple tap on my screen and it opens up that menu item where I can zoom in even further, make the letters as big or as small as I need them to, and then I can change to that different zoom type like I spoke to you about. You can also adjust, it's not showing the color filters. You can also adjust the color filters.
Yay!
You can adjust the color filters, which is what
yeah, that color, it's very helpful.
Yeah, so you can make it grayscale or grayscale inverted. You can also use this little controller, which is quite helpful. So you have a circle on your screen. Instead of needing those 3 fingers dragging it, you can just use that little controller button to help you move and navigate around the screen as you need to. So here I want to show you how to do the window zoom. So that was a full screen zoom. So full screen zoom, the whole screen zooms in on a specific, wherever you tap your fingers. So that's quite important. This is wherever you tap your fingers, that's where it's going to zoom in. So now I want to show you the difference. That was full screen. Now this is the window zoom. It looks like you've just put a little magnifier glass on your screen, and you can drag that magnifier glass just using 1 finger around your screen, and it will just zoom in that little bit. The rest of your screen will stay the same, but for the zoom window, you've got that tiny bit there. And you can also resize the size of that magnifying lens. So you can make it longer or bigger or smaller or however you need that lens to look. And you can see here, I'm just reading a sentence with that Zoom window open. If I want to choose here the different filters, that's the inverted. It's black with a gray color. This is the grayscale inverted. And then the last one is a low light. I quite like the low light because it helps with reading fatigue. So for those of you that get tired, especially at night, and worry about the blue light, the low light is very, very helpful. So that was Zoom very fast. Unfortunately, with time, we do have to go as fast as possible, but open it up on your iPad. It works on your iPhone as well, and just sit and fiddle with it. And Jen, you use Zoom quite a lot. When would you use Zoom preferably?
Well, what I like to do, I find if the font is too big, if you set your whole cell phone or your iPad to have the text I need it's just too big to fit on the screen. And then you don't know when you're navigating, you don't know where you are on the screen. So I rather make the text size sort of medium. And then what you can do with Zoom is you go to the words you want to read, and you can double tap on that and get that quick zoom. And you can go in and you can see, you just focus your fingers anywhere on the iPad. Say you want to see battery level, and you go to the top right corner, you double tap, and then you can see, oh my, your battery level comes the whole size of your iPad. You can see, oh, it's 73% or whatever. And I think that's very helpful because you're still able to orientate yourself on the page.
No, that's awesome. And I think something else with the display text size, I had a client and he was so frustrated because he'd adjusted the text size on his device to be quite big, but it wasn't big on all apps. So Facebook, for example, the text size didn't adjust on Facebook. It was still very small and he was still unable to read it. So using the Zoom gesture, he was still able to interact with those apps that didn't adjust the text size. So I think that's the benefit of having Zoom.
And in that, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting there. No. In that as well, when your text size is adjusted, as you say, some of the apps that have text in the middle, they don't show you the tabs at the top or the bottom. And so when you're looking for a back button or, something else like that, you can't find it. And even on the internet, you got this text is very big, but you want to see where's the share button. And that's when the Zoom is helpful because, it's right at the top with all those blue things, if you can see color, it's great. And then you just aim for that color and you do a quick zoom and then you can find, okay, there's the share button.
Oh, awesome.
So it's very versatile, especially for if you quickly want to look at something.
Absolutely. And I love that all of these accessibility features are available across the device. So it doesn't matter what app, what program, anything that if you're on the home screen, if you're in an app, if you're in Safari, wherever you are, Zoom is accessible. And I think that's also something that separates Apple accessibility from other accessibility features, because often the other accessibility features, you've got to be in a specific app and then that feature works there in that app, but it doesn't work anywhere else. Whereas the Apple accessibility support is anywhere in the device. And that's definitely the benefit.
So what? And the benefit as well, when you're looking at something like Safari, you've got reader mode on Safari. It automatically pops up in the left top corner, the big A, little a, and there you're able to adjust the screen to reduce all the images. And so you basically just have the text there. You can reduce the white point and you add a zoom to that, and really you're home free for searching the internet, whatever you want to do. So that's also a helpful feature.
Yes,
that's built in.
I love Safari Reader. I 100% agree with you in that. Thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so the second feature we're going to explore is magnifier. And magnifier is probably the thing that Jen and I spend the most time talking about, because even though it's seemingly such a simple accessibility feature, it's so versatile and so helpful. And with iPadOS 14, which was released at the end of last year, it has had massive updates. So I'm pretty excited to show you magnifier, and then I'm even more excited to hear Jen's experience on magnifier and using magnifier. So firstly, we're going to head on over back, same menu, settings. We're going to look for the accessibility. And then, so you can see I've clicked on accessibility, the blue icon with the white man standing in a circle, and it's the third menu item, magnifier. Now, I went too fast, sorry. Once you've turned on magnifier, ultimately what happens is you are able to access this in two ways. The first way is you can triple click your home button. So you're going to triple click your home button 3 times, 1, 2, 3, or with iPadOS 14, they have just released the app version of Magnifier. So anybody that has an iPhone or iPad will have a new app icon called Magnifier. It's a black icon with a white magnifying glass and a yellow plus sign in it. And if you simply click on that app icon, it's going to open up this magnifier feature for you to sit and use. So I'm going to explore the buttons with you. This is a book that I'm reading, The Art of Hearing Heartbeats. And you can see on the side, it might be on the bottom or the side, depending on the orientation of your device. You can drag the slider and zoom in as much as you need to see however much you need to see the text. When you tap on the screen, it acts like a camera. When you tap on the screen, it's going to focus on whatever you have tapped on, and that's quite nice. You can also, I'm going a bit fast here. You can also, there's those different buttons. You can adjust the brightness. The first button is the sun, yellow sun. You can adjust the brightness. The second one is the half moon, where you can adjust the contrast. The third one is the 3 yellow rings that you can adjust the filters with. And you can scroll through, they've got a whole bunch of filters, yellow, red, blue, depending on what your needs are. And then the last button is a torch. And that's for low lights, being able to still use the magnifier. What's really great with iPadOS 14 is you can now take multiple photos of multiple pages using the bottom right icon, using the bottom center icon, which is a plus button. Whenever you've got a page, you click the plus button, turn to the next page, click the plus button, turn to the next page, click the plus button, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, I'm busy doing it. And when that happens, now all of those photos are available for you in Magnifier. So you can sit and move around, zoom in, zoom out as far as you need it to be, to read and look at what you're seeing. This is really great in all different types of contexts, which Jen will talk to now. And you can see, then you can go and edit the photos that you've taken on the magnifier, zoom back in so that you can read it, zoom back out. You can also save it to your photos so you can view it later, or you can share it with a friend or family member, or you can email, whatever your preference is. But that is Magnify in a nutshell. It's very easy to use, very simple to set up. And I love that once it's set up, you can use it whenever you need it. So Jen, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you've used, because this is the feature that you talk about the most.
Yes.
So why don't you talk to us about Magnify?
So right. Okay, so basically I'm privileged enough to have had a screen magnifier, desktop magnifier most of my life, but I need something portable that can come with me. And the iPad has really opened my world. That magnifier allows you to participate in conferences. A lot of times there's a presumption or assumption that the board is directly in front of you or the screen in front of you. Whereas in a conference setting, it's often a horseshoe shape or a boardroom. And now you've got your iPad with you that you can participate in what's happening. You can take a freeze frame of the pages of the manual that they're talking from. So you've got those already there. Then you put the live magnifier on and you can see who's speaking. You can zoom in on the presentation. So it's a wonderful, opportunity to use all of those functions now. And they go to page 2. You've got page 2 then on one of your screens. So, so that is fantastic. What I love about the magnifier is basically for general life and inclusion with other people. So, for instance, my husband and I love to play Scrabble. And I was mourning, oh no, my eyes are not too bad to play Scrabble. And then I realized, what about my iPad? And then now I just go and I can just turn on the magnifier, take a freeze frame, and then sit. I sort of stand up to get it in the viewfinder. And then I can sit down and zoom in. And you know what? I'm still the Scrabble champion in our family. And my husband might beg to differ. But, and that's such a small thing, but it's those life inclusion things that are so important. using my iPad, and that's why I want to show. Am I visible on the screen, Chelsea?
Perfect.
I'd like to just show us how to hold the devices. Is it? I think.
Perfect. Yes, I've spotlit.
Is that all right?
Yes,
okay.
Go for it.
All right. So so what you do is that if you're holding, and I can't see what you can see.
I can see you holding your phone.
Right. So I'm holding my phone. So what you do is, if it's on a phone, and an iPad, you put your hand in a C shape. All right. And you're resting the heel of your hand onto the page. And now your camera is balanced at the top right corner. Okay. So if you are writing, so if I walk into, say, the medical, I want to go to the clinic, and they've got a list there, you must sign in. Then I put my hand down onto that, and it keeps the phone equidistant. Because with magnifier, the more you magnify and you shake, the more it shakes. You can't focus. So God forbid you have Parkinson's and low vision. That's very tough. And so this way, you're looking through your phone. You're not looking at your phone, you're looking through your phone. And you can then see, you find the nib of your pen, and then you can write on the line. And that is so just wonderful. For me, that's been so freeing. It really is a handheld electronic magnifier. So with an iPad, which I'm on Zoom with, so I don't have one, I've just got a book here. I don't know if you can see. It's a similar thing. You take your hand and you put it there, keep it equidistant from the page, and then the camera's hanging over the edge so that you can write. You can also just use a box. I use a box of tea often, or just a normal box, just to hold it equidistant from the page, or a can of beans. And you put your iPad on that, hanging over the edge, and then your hand's free to write. And then you make a mark on a page, you can zoom in on that mark, and from there you can fill in forms. You can do whatever you want to. Drawing, anything that's one-handed is easier to do with that. And speaking of one-handed, so that's why I've actually created a device stand, because I haven't found one on the market, which I've called trademarked a pad perch. And basically, it holds the iPad equidistant from the surface, and it can hold an iPhone as well, with the camera in portrait or in landscape. Either way, there's holes for them to be in there, and it allows you to use your iPad as a hands-free magnifier. Now, for low vision, that is fantastic, because there are things like knitting, sewing, girls painting your nails. I use it to take a splinter out of my finger the other day, and I said to my husband, quickly take a video of me trying to do this. And but the joy that comes back to people, and I think this is what I've realized, is that the iPad, okay, it's a device, it's the most affordable assistive device for me. I'm just with visually impaired, there's beautiful, accessible products out there, but the reality is 99% of us are unemployed. And so I just think the iPad's been, for me, the most affordable assistive technology to be versatile. And now with the iPad, it frees my hands. And I've seen a grown man cry when he realized that he could still do some of his woodwork. He can take it into his garage, put his iPad on it, and now he can change the spark plugs. He can, you can use it. I've used it in the garden to plant seedlings, balanced on the stand, hands-free. And I think that's, for me, why the magnifier is really, it's been a life changer for me.
I love that. And I think you spoke to some of the other magnifiers that are on the market. I was chatting to a client the other day, and he was sharing how he'd spent 40,000 Rand on another magnifier. And he's like, his iPad is 100 times better. He just wish he knew. And I think your assistive devices can be so expensive, and you're right.
But I think it is important there. There's still the room for the handheld magnifier. If you've got someone, you need to really look at who the low vision person is. So in terms of iPad, I'm saying yes, absolutely. But in terms of the person using it, it's very important to work with a low vision specialist to see where the patient or where the client is at. Because there is room for handheld magnifiers, I think, for certain people with, just at the pace where people are at, and also people who are quite scared of technology. Yeah. So I think this is where making people feel more comfortable with technology is helping to brace that digital divide, which is so relevant now, particularly during COVID. And so even during COVID, using the magnifier for seniors to put electricity into the electricity box. You can take a freeze frame and zoom in and say, oh, I've got 3 units left let me sort that out. So looking at buttons on the microwave. So there's a bunch of different uses for a low vision person to remain independent with dignity.
I love that. And using the iPad as an assistive device really gives independence back to people that might have had might have lost parts of their independence. So we're running a bit short on time. We've got 15 minutes left. So I'm just going to unpack the very last accessibility feature for today, which is Speak Screen. It's one of my favorite. It's one of those that is very versatile across all disabilities. So firstly, to set up Speak Screen on your device, you're going to head on over to accessibility. You're going to tap on spoken content, turn on speak selection and speak screen. They do two different things, and I'm going to show you them both now. But I want to show you this top tip of mine, and it's under the spoken content, click on voices, English, and scroll right down to the bottom where it says Alex. And you're going to click on Alex and try and download Alex if you can. His voice is 869 megabytes, whereas some of the other voices are 126, 189. The other biggest one is 486 megabytes. But with him being over 800 megabytes, he is the most developed voice. He has over 300 breaths recorded. And then another top tip is using pronunciation. So you click on pronunciations at the bottom of the Speak Screen, Speak Selection. And in my menu, I've got Bry, my husband's name. You're just going to click on the plus button up at the top, click on phrase, which is the previous thing that it was missaying, and then substitution, how they should phonetically say that word. And that's really, really great for like South Africanisms or words that voiceover might not be saying correctly. So you can just go sit, and I've sat and fiddled with it. And for example, Gauteng or Gautrain, it just doesn't say it correctly. So you can just sit and adjust that word to make sure that it says the right word the right way. So that's how you set it up in a very, very quick nutshell. Okay, that's how you set it up in a very quick nutshell. I see we've got a question coming in. I'm going to answer that just now. But how you activate Speak Screen is this is a hand gesture. You take two fingers from the top of your iPad screen and you swipe down quite fast, but it has to be from the top of the screen and it has to be two fingers, top of the screen. You're going to flick the fingers down. I'm going to show you that video again. Two fingers, top of the iPad screen, and then you flick them down, and then you're going to activate Speak Screen. Now I'm going to show you how that works. Okay.
English is difficult poem Gerard Knowles Tree Night. The Chaos, 1922 sounds like corpse, core, horse, and worse. I will keep you, Susie, busy, make your head with heat grow dizzy. Tearing eye, your dress will tear. So shall I. Oh.
Okay, so that was Speak Screen, okay? So I took two fingers, I swiped it down, and Alex, which was the voice that I suggest setting up, he read it aloud, and his voice is so distinct, he was able to differentiate between here in I, your dress will tear, and his pronunciation and everything was great. So that's Speak Screen, two fingers swipe down top of your screen, and it will activate. The second one is Speak Selection. The same idea, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a word or a sentence that I want to be read. And then I'm going to say speak. Click on speak.
C-O-R-P-S.
The same idea is I can select a word and I can ask it to spell that word for me, which is a really great. Or I can select that word and I can look it up. And I see somebody mentioned dyslexic children. This is great for dyslexia as well, being able to look words up, having it heard, read aloud. And just being able to use it. And that's why I say it's such a diverse accessibility feature. It's great for low vision, but it's also really, really great for other learning or neurodiverse disabilities. Now, unfortunately, our time is we have 9 minutes left. So in this 9 minutes, Jen, I'm going to ask you to quickly share on your experience with Speak Screen. And whilst you're sharing, anybody who has any questions, please just pop them into the chat section. I do see we've got one, which we'll respond to now. But whilst you're typing your questions, Jen's going to share a little bit for us about her experience with Speak Screen.
Yeah. So Speak Screen is great if you're out and about and you haven't got time to turn on other settings, there are other people around, you quickly want to hear what's there, you can Speak Screen. It's great also for people who are struggling with eye strain or, so for sighted people, it's actually lovely to have Speak Screen read. My favorite though is the Speak Selection, because as with low vision, sometimes you can see there is a block of text, but you don't want to read the whole page. You just want to read that paragraph. And so Speak Selection is you highlight and I'm able to see, and many of our low vision will be able to see that paragraph being highlighted, and then you find speak and then it just speaks that paragraph to you. So once again, I cannot see where the speak is on the little pop-up bar, but I know where it's positioned along the bar. So I know it's like 75% along the bar, and then I just press there and it speaks that paragraph. It saves a long time, it really does.
Awesome. Okay, great. So we have some questions just popping into. The first one is, when will Apple bring out Speak Screen in Afrikaans? Our dyslexic children can really use something like that. I think, unfortunately, Apple, there are so many different languages across the world, and Speak Screen is available in a lot of languages. Hebrew, I don't know why I say Hebrew. It's available in Dutch, in a lot of the European languages, French, Italian. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I'd have to go and look at the screen. So unfortunately, it is taking
There is
time.
Dutch Belgium.
Yes, there is Dutch Belgium. That's generally what I recommend, is using that instead of Afrikaans. But hopefully, as time goes on and as Apple develops their languages, hopefully they will start getting some of South African's languages involved in there. Second question is, how would it be possible to activate Zoom, magnifier, and voiceover or screen reader if it's the same, particularly for dyslexia? So Jen, you're welcome to cut me off if you want to answer.
Yeah, I think I can answer that one.
Yes.
Is that you need to explore the different ones and decide what's most useful for the person who's using it. Because sometimes, I don't want to use certain aspects of Zoom, only use it in certain circumstances. And other times you're in a page and you just want to use voiceover, and now suddenly, that's getting too complicated because I'm struggling with this edit. Let me go back and read one paragraph. So, you've got such a quick switch between the different types of reading back, typing feedback, Speak Selection. There's a whole array there. And I think that's why it's important per person to see where they're at, what can they cope with. It is in the Apple device. It's in there. It's just finding how to get it to, what's most appropriate for the condition.
Yeah. So I think with dyslexia, I generally recommend Speak Screen instead of voiceover, because voiceover isn't really related to dyslexia. It's more about telling you what's going on your screen, where the apps are, reading those aloud, where Speak Screen is far more intuitive for learners or individuals with dyslexia. But definitely Zoom and magnifier, you can use them no matter what you need. So if a learner has dyslexia and needs to use Zoom and magnifier, by all means, they can definitely use it. And then the very last question is, are all these features available on all iPad versions? So I think with that, I just want to say, so I showed you where the features are. However, if you have an earlier device, for example, maybe you have an iPad 2nd gen, which a lot of our customers and clients have, the settings, your iPad won't have updated to the most recent operating system, which is iPadOS 14. If you are on iPadOS 12 or earlier, your settings, your accessibility settings are still available for use. However, they're just in a different place. So you're going to click on settings and then click on general, and then they'll be under accessibility. You'll find accessibility there. Whereas if you have a more recent device that is up to date, it will just be in your settings menu. So I think just in case that's what the confusion might have been. But yes, all these features are available. And then the last question that I've now got 3 times is, will this video be available to view afterwards? We do our best to upload these videos onto the iStore's website, onto the iStore's YouTube page. So hopefully this session will be made available for everybody to go and view over and over again. However, if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email address is chelsea@thinkahead.co.za. And I'm happy to have one-on-one consultations with whoever needs them. And that is unfortunately all we have time for today. Just to wrap everything up, I just want to let everybody know we have our upcoming Everyone Can Code and Augmented Reality Summit coming up on the 11th of March, which we are also exploring how to use accessibility support and create disability inclusion using coding and augmented reality. So for those of you that have an interest in this field, please feel free to email us, inquiries@thinkahead.co.za, and you can find out more about that. And then we also have loads more iStore Meet sessions, especially in the accessibility field. So for those of you that want more information, especially if we had a couple of questions on dyslexia, we will be running sessions, and we have run them in the past, on accessibility support for dyslexia, accessibility support for autism, and so on and so forth. We had Deaf Awareness Month, like December was International Day of Persons with Disability. So just keep your eyes peeled on the iStore Meet session and join the ones that best suit you. My email address again is chelsea@thinkahead.co.za. And just to wrap up today's session, I really want to thank Jen so much for being a part of today's session. It really wouldn't have been possible without you. I think your knowledge and your expertise was really just so invaluable. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for everybody on today's session. We had quite a nice turnout today, which was really great. And I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your Thursday to join us. And hopefully you learned something new and you're excited to explore your iPad and these new features that your iPad has, because we really do believe that it is the most it is the most accessible assistive device on the market. And please feel free to get in touch with Jen or myself if you have any questions or concerns going forward. But thank you all for today. Have a fantastic rest of your Thursday and Friday and weekend. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Thank you, Sam, for saying thank you. Yeah, Jen, I don't know if you want to say anything in closing.
No, it's just wonderful. I think use what you have. I think, yeah, if you've got an iPad, you just use that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen. All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to be ending this call now. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Chat to you soon. Bye.